This video contains major spoilers for Persona 5 Royal. The 14th card in the tarot deck, number 13, Death. It represents transformation, change, and the shift from one phase of life to the other. In the Persona series, death is usually associated with characters who battle with actual death itself, as well as someone who is in a transitory stage in life. They typically are trying to help someone, despite them being just outside of their reach. And that is no different for Persona 5. The Death Arcana is that of Takemi. I'm Ouroboros. Let's talk. If you missed my video on the Fool's Journey, I would recommend that you watch it before jumping into this series. It goes over the Fool's Journey and gives a brief rundown of each of the major arcana, so go check it out. Anyway, like I said earlier, the Death Arcana typically reflects not only a character struggling with death itself, but also their inability to help someone they care deeply for. If we look at the tarot card itself, it is a deeply symbolic card that has come to be misunderstood throughout the years. We see Death himself clad in armor, riding on a white horse next to many different people, one of which is a king. The armor showing that no one can best Death. He is unconquerable. The white horse is supposed to show purity, as in how death purifies everyone, and the people reflect how death comes for us all. I believe the horse and the people are connected in a way. It matters not who you are, one thing is certain, death awaits us all. Death is the great equalizer. No one can escape it. Despite this, Death holds a flag with a white flower on it, representing life and new beginnings. This is what I meant when I said that Death is one of the most misunderstood cards in the deck. People take Death at its face value, as in, you die. But it's much more nuanced than that. See, the Death Arcana is about the death of one chapter of your life and the beginning of a new one. It's an arcana that represents transition. Think of it in the context of the arcana leading up to this point. Most of them have been on the simpler and more concrete side of things. Many of them are specific people as well. The Emperor, the Hermit, Justice, all pretty straightforward ideas. Following the Death Arcana, we have more spiritual or even heavenly tarot cards. The Star, Sun, and Judgment. It is almost like a spiritual death. Part of you has to die so you can be reborn again. That is what the Fool learns here. It is a continuation of the Hanged Man. He has finally let go of old habits and desires and has been reborn anew. He learns that this death is not a permanent moment in his life, but rather a transition onto the next one. Takemi's character uses many of the literal and metaphorical ideas of death. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. She's called the Plague by the medical community. It's a very clear derogatory term that stems from her failure to cure a girl suffering from the fictional Crawford-Enns disease. And yes, I did double check that this is in fact a fictional illness, but it is incredibly similar to many other autoimmune disorders. Takemi was framed for Oyamada's medical malpractice and shunned from the medical community. This is where her first issue arises. In the beginning of her confidant, I get the sense that she really doesn't like being a general practitioner in Young Jaya, and also really hates feeling like the back alley doctor. She gets a lot of people coming to her for prescription drug abuse, which is how she's able to catch on to your Phantom Thief nonsense so quickly. Although she doesn't state it until the end of the confidant. I feel that she had an idea far sooner, and it was only confirmed by Oyamada's change of heart. But back on track to the confidant itself. The reverse meanings of the Death Arcana are pretty easy to guess based on the upright meanings. Stagnancy, a resistance to change, and a failure to adapt. While Takemi was wrongfully kicked from her previous life, she attempted to hang on to that version of herself. However, once you walk into her life, she finds a way to push and attempt to correct the mistakes of her past. She actually changes pretty quickly in her confidant. By using Joker as her little guinea pig, she's able to rapidly progress the development of her experimental drug to cure Miwa-chan. That is, up until Oyamada pays a visit to her clinic. He tells her that Miwa-chan has died and threatens to shut her clinic down. This instantly causes a huge shift in her character. While she was never the most nurturing person to you, she was never a bad person. Takemi clearly had a lot of sadistic enjoyment over your struggles to endure the clinical trials, but she's always said things like, make sure you get home okay, or tell me if there's any changes in your condition. The lie that Miwa-chan is dead shakes her to her very core and rapidly spirals her into a massive depression. She gives up. And at that point, like many other confidants, you can't progress any further until you change Oyamada's heart. I think it's interesting how it seems like she starts off as the reversed death, quickly becomes upright, spirals quickly back into the reversed, and then, in the last few ranks, goes back to being upright. It feels like it's a more realistic take on character and personal development. I liken it to Prince Zuko from Avatar. Progress isn't linear, and her story reflects that. Of course, when she does eventually get back into the good graces of the medical community and is offered a job at a hospital, she finds herself sad that she'll have to close her clinic, lamenting the very place she seemed so indifferent to early game. In true Disney movie fashion, she declines the job offer and chooses to stay as a general practitioner at her small little clinic, showing that her life as a hospital doctor has finally come to an end. That part of her has died, and you, the trickster, were able to help her navigate through her difficult transition period in her life. Everybody likes Takemi. Some like her for her story, some for other reasons. I think she's a great take on the Death Arcana. Much like the other Death characters, she represents not only the physical aspect of death, but also the tarot parts of it as well. It's one of the more nuanced Arcana, and that serves her well. It's ironic that Death is a doctor in P5. She's supposed to be someone who saves others from what she herself is. The two other Death social links are pretty obvious, but Takemi does take a little while to finally get there. I really would have liked to have gone to the hospital with Takemi to see Miwa-chan. I feel like that should have been an obvious scene to make at least once in the Confidant. Even just once at some point would have made a really big impact either before or after Oyamada's false claim. Regardless, I still like how her progress isn't linear. She slips into depression midway through the Confidant, and you are the only one who can pull her out of it. Like I stated in some of the other tarot studies, I wish Atlas would have done more with the non-party member confidants during the third semester. I think it would have been cool to see Takemi and Miwa-chan together in Maruki's reality, but alas, we only have about a month to work with in-game, so that means there wasn't much room for that. However, I still really enjoyed her confidant. Takemi's journey from renowned medical doctor to disgraced back alley doctor, and finally to beloved local physician, is the culmination of her journey as the death of Persona 5. Thanks for watching.